Good evening, friends of the night. Tonight's story is based on a real place, a place you won't find on most maps, and one you're forbidden to enter. Deep in the woods of Connecticut lies the ruined settlement of Dudleytown, long abandoned, long whispered about. Locals call it cursed. Historians call it forgotten. But those who've stepped into the woods and never returned, they call it something else entirely. This is the story of one man who followed the whispers, ignored the warnings, and went looking for the truth. What he found was the Dudleytown Curse. I wasn't planning on doing another episode so soon. Not after what happened in the Catskills. That investigation left my sound guy with a fractured wrist and me with a hard drive full of static. We were supposed to take a break, clear our heads. Then the email came. It was simple. No subject line, no introduction. Just 6 words in the body. You think Dudleytown is a myth? It was sent from a scrambled IP, no signature, no attachments. But it didn't feel like spam. It felt like a challenge. I'd heard of Dudleytown before, just enough to dismiss it. Abandoned in the 1800s, somewhere in the forests of northwestern Connecticut. Locals called it cursed. The few settlers who stayed reportedly went mad. No birds sang there. That kind of thing. Internet ghost stories. But my curiosity got the better of me. I replied, "Send proof." 3 minutes later, another message arrived. A black and white image, grainy, blurry. But there it was. A photo of a stone foundation buried deep in the woods, trees pressed in around it like prison bars. And just at the edge of the frame, a figure, distant, barely visible, watching from the tree line. Something about the angle, the stillness. It didn't look staged. I forwarded the email to my team. Grace, my researcher, was intrigued but skeptical. Logan, our new sound tech, was all in. If it's private land, that means no tourists. We could be the first to really document the place. I filed for a permit. It was denied. Then I filed a fake one using an old press credential. That worked better. We arrived in Connecticut under overcast skies and pulled into a nearby gas station in Cornwall. The clerk stared too long when I asked for directions to Dark Entry Forest. "You're not going in there," he muttered. "They don't allow it." I smiled, like I hadn't heard that exact warning in every backwater town with a ghost story. "Just hiking," I said. He leaned in close. "Don't look at the trees too long. You'll think they're looking back." Grace snorted when I told her. Logan stayed quiet. We parked at a dead-end road, well away from any no trespassing signs. We hiked in with our gear, cameras, EMF readers, parabolic mics. The deeper we went, the quieter the forest grew. I didn't realize it until Grace stopped and said, "Where are the birds?" She was right. Not a chirp, not a rustle, just wind sliding between the trees like something exhaling. We reached the first stone foundation just past noon, moss-covered and sunken into the earth. It looked like a square scar in the middle of the woods. A cellar hole yawned beneath it. We set up camp nearby, avoiding the circle of black soil surrounding the structure. I started recording. Grace took notes. Logan adjusted his mic dish and muttered, "This thing's picking up static already. Could be interference. Or the curse," he joked. That's when I saw him. At the edge of the woods, past where the light fell between the trees, someone was standing there. A figure still as a gravestone, barely visible through the branches. I froze. "Do you see that?" Grace turned. "What?" "There, between the trees." But by the time they looked, he was gone. Logan zoomed in with the camera. Nothing but leaves and bark. I wasn't sure if I'd imagined it, but I knew better than to say so. We recorded into the early evening. As night fell, The static on the audio feed worsened. At one point, Logan pulled off his headphones and muttered, "It's like whispering, but not in English." Playback? Nothing. It's gone now. We agreed to stay the night and hike out before sunrise. Grace pitched her tent close to mine. Logan took the watch rotation. He insisted he'd get better sound at night anyway. By 11:43 p.m., the woods had gone darker than I thought possible. No moon, no wind, no bugs, just stillness, like the world was holding its breath. At 2:16 a.m., I woke up, not to sound, to the absence of it. I peeked through the flap of my tent. Logan was still outside, headphones on, his eyes were wide, frozen. He didn't blink, his mic was pointed into the woods. And I swear to God, something was out there, moving between the trees, just beyond the reach of the firelight, watching us. Logan didn't move for a long time. I called his name softly from the tent flap. He twitched just once, then ripped off the headphones like they were burning him. "Did you hear it?" he whispered. "Hear what?" "I don't know. It was whispering, not in a voice. In the air." He looked pale and his hands were shaking. "It said my name." Grace woke up to our hushed voices. I told her Logan was spooked and we needed to break down camp. She groaned but didn't argue. The woods had changed. I could feel it too. We packed our gear by flashlight. The trees around us didn't creak or sway. They just stood there, still and straight, like soldiers watching us. Not one owl, not one bug, just breathless silence. It was 4:12 a.m. when we started heading back toward the car. By 4:29, we realized we were going the wrong way. Grace had the GPS app open, but it flickered and glitched every time she tried to pinpoint our trail. "Must be the cloud cover," she said, but her voice lacked conviction. "We came in on that ridge," I said, pointing to a slope we hadn't seen before. "Let's circle around it." We never found that ridge. Instead, we stumbled onto a second foundation, larger than the first. This one had a stone well in its center. The top was sealed with rotted wooden slats nailed shut, decades old. Logan stared at it like it was familiar. "I saw this in a dream once." Grace gave him a sharp look. "What?" "Before we came here," he muttered. "Same trees, same well. I was standing right there." "You need sleep," I said, but I couldn't look away from the well either. Something about it made the skin on my arms prickle. We sat to rest. The forest still hadn't made a sound. That's when we noticed the trail marker, a faint smear of red paint on a tree, maybe 20 yards ahead. Then another, and another. A crude trail, not part of any public map. But it was something. We followed it. After 10 minutes, the trees began to thin. We came to a clearing, and I saw it. A weathered wooden sign nailed to a tree, half buried in vines. "No trespassing. Property of Dark Entry Forest Association." Underneath it, someone had carved words into the bark, long ago, now barely legible. "They listen." Grace took a photo. "We shouldn't be here." "Too late," Logan said quietly. He was holding his parabolic mic dish, angling it toward the trees to our left. "What do you hear?" He didn't answer. That's when Grace stopped walking. "What's wrong?" I asked. She raised a finger to her lips, then pointed toward the tree line, just past the edge of the clearing. There was someone standing there, not moving, half hidden behind a thick maple, their shoulder and part of a face just visible. They weren't holding a flashlight. They weren't wearing a backpack. They weren't supposed to be there. "Hey," I called out. "You with the land trust?" No reply. Grace raised her camera and took a shot. Click. The figure stepped back behind the tree. Not ran, not flinched. Just slipped out of view like a shadow folding in on itself. We ran to the tree, No one, no footprints, no branches broken, just the forest pressing in tighter now. We didn't speak again until we were back at the foundation with the well. We decided to pitch camp again, just until sunrise. Nobody admitted they were too tired to keep walking. We just stopped and started unpacking like we had no other choice. That night, I left my tent open, just a crack. I don't know why. Maybe I wanted to see something. Maybe I already knew I would. At 3:17 a.m., I woke to the sound of stones being rearranged, not far, just outside the circle of our campfire. I lay there frozen, barely breathing, listening as something scraped and clicked across the earth like hands digging in gravel. I didn't move, and I didn't sleep again. By the time morning bled through the trees, the air had turned dense and sour, like wet stone. Dew clung to everything. Logan looked like he hadn't blinked all night. Grace's hands trembled as she packed her camera gear. Nobody spoke about the sounds from the night before. At 7:12 a.m., we found the cellar door. It was half buried in earth, maybe 20 feet from the well. The thick wooden hatch had collapsed inward years ago, revealing a narrow staircase choked with roots and broken beams. It looked like something that hadn't been touched in over a century. I shouldn't have gone down first, but I did. The air inside was thick and metallic, laced with mildew and decay. My flashlight caught the curve of stone walls and a rusted lantern bracket. A moldering cot sat against the wall, its bedding chewed to strings. Something moved in the corner, fast, too fast. I thought it might be a rat. I hoped it was a rat. Then I saw it. A metal box wedged under the cot. Small, heavy, locked with a rusted latch. I called Logan and Grace down. Grace brought her camera. Logan was reluctant. His eyes kept scanning the ceiling like he expected it to fall in. I forced the latch with a multi-tool. Inside was a leather-bound journal wrapped in an oilcloth, brittle but intact. The name on the inside cover, E. Dudley, 1792. The entries were written in a tight manic hand, some in ink, some in charcoal. The first few pages described homesteading life, planting, trapping, sickness. Then things changed. March 17th, the forest groans at night, loudest near the well, like it knows something waits. April 3rd. The boy woke, screaming. He says he sees eyes behind the trees. I have begun hearing footsteps when I walk alone. Always behind me, never beside. April 21st. The cellar door was open this morning. I locked it with my own hands. There were stones arranged in a circle at the foot of the stairs. I did not place them. May 6th. I caught glimpse of it today, between the trees. It looked like a man, but it was not. I cannot describe its face. My memory refuses to keep it. We read in silence. Grace spoke first. This reads like classic settler psychosis. No, Logan said, this feels real. Something in his voice made us both look at him. He had dark circles under his eyes, and his lips were chapped and dry. I heard those footsteps, he said quietly, the same ones he wrote about. I checked the audio logs, desperate for some validation. Most were corrupted. But one survived from 3:17 a.m. the night before. It was faint, garbled, but there was something there. Shifting gravel, breathing, a voice low and wet like it came from inside a well. And then it said unmistakably, "Turn around." We didn't speak much after that. We emerged from the cellar into the gray morning. The trees around us seemed even taller. Their trunks had darkened overnight as if they'd been soaked in something. Sap, rain, blood. Grace packed up in silence. Logan kept glancing toward the well. When I asked him what he was looking at, he said, "It's humming. I don't hear anything. You will." At noon, we tried again to leave. The trail markers were gone. No paint, no tree carvings, nothing. We walked in what we believed was a straight line for an hour and somehow circled back to the foundation. The well sat in the clearing like it had been waiting. That's when we heard the knock. 3 raps from beneath the rotted wood. Not loud, but precise. We didn't speak after the knock. It wasn't just fear, it was something deeper. A sickness in the air like rot behind the walls of a house you thought was safe. Logan refused to go near the well again. Grace kept rubbing her temples, her lips moving without sound, like she was trying to hold on to a thought that wouldn't stay still. We tried to record more audio, hoping to document something, anything, but Logan's gear was useless. No signal, no power. His batteries drained even after replacing them. That afternoon, Grace wandered off without a word. I found her a quarter-mile from camp, standing in a ring of stones. 6 perfectly arranged granite chunks forming a circle in the brush. Her eyes were wide and unfocused. Her camera dangled from her wrist, recording nothing. "What are you doing?" I asked. She blinked slowly. "They're singing." "Who?" She looked up at the canopy. "The trees." By dusk, the shadows in the forest began to change. Not longer, darker, denser. They didn't just shade the ground, they swallowed it. Grace refused to speak. Logan sat cross-legged with his back to the well, clutching his headphones like they were the only thing tethering him to reality. I sat by the fire, trying to keep my hands from shaking. My breath felt shallow. The weight of the trees pressed down like the roof of a cave. There was no wind, no sound, until there was. At 9:12 p.m. we heard movement, slow, deliberate. Footsteps circling our camp, not rushing, not stumbling, stalking. I grabbed my flashlight and swept the perimeter. Nothing, just trees, tall and still. Then Logan hissed, "There!" At the far edge of the light's reach, something moved. A shape between 2 trees, tall, hunched, pale in the face, darker through the middle. Watching, then gone. We debated leaving again, just grabbing what we could and pushing into the woods. But we couldn't agree which direction was out. Every trail looked the same, every hill unfamiliar. The GPS was dead. The sun hadn't risen properly in 2 days, just a gray smear in the sky. We stayed. That was our mistake. Around midnight, Grace screamed. I shot up from my sleeping bag and spun toward her tent, empty. Her bag was still there, her recorder, her shoes. But Grace was gone. No warning, no sound, no signs of a struggle. Just vanished. Logan ran in circles, shouting her name into the dark. I pulled him back before he could bolt into the trees. "We wait for sunrise," I said. "We don't split up." He didn't argue. By 3 a.m. I was nodding off when I heard it again. The whispers. They came not from the forest, but from inside my head. Soft, coiling, like smoke slipping into my ears. I pressed my palms to the sides of my skull, trying to squeeze them out. The voices weren't in any language I knew, just murmurs, chant-like, repeating. But Logan heard them too. "They want us to follow," he mumbled, his voice cracked and dry. I opened my mouth to argue, but then I saw something across the firelight. I couldn't tell who or what it was. It wasn't Grace, it was something else. It stood just past the circle of stones. Tall, human-shaped, but not right. Its face shimmered like heat above asphalt, features bending and resetting. It watched us, with a face that refused to hold still. And then it pointed. Not at Logan. At me. I didn't sleep that night. Not even a minute. By sunrise, if you could call that dim glow a sunrise, Logan was gone too. His sleeping bag was empty, still zipped. His boots were right where he'd left them. One headphone rested in the dirt beside the fire pit, coiled like a severed ear. I didn't call his name, didn't search the trees, didn't move. I just sat there, hands shaking, waiting for something to come for me. But it didn't. Not that morning. When I finally stood, I didn't pack my things. I didn't gather equipment or check the tents. I walked, not with purpose, just forward. Through the trees, past the well, deeper into the forest until the trees began to thin, until I saw a sliver of road. And there, like a miracle, was my car, covered in dew, cold and lifeless, but still there. The moment I stepped out of the woods, I swear I heard it, faint but clear. A knock, 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 from far behind me, deep within the forest. I didn't turn around. I drove for hours, didn't stop until I reached a gas station 3 towns away. The attendant asked if I was all right. I told him I'd been hiking. He didn't press. When I got home, I uploaded everything I had. The audio was corrupted. The photos were gray static. The journal gone. I don't remember dropping it. I don't remember choosing to leave it behind, just gone. The episode never aired. I told our listeners we lost the recordings, had a scare, and would be taking a break. But I didn't tell them the truth. Not until now. Because something followed me. It started small. Whispers in the hallway at night. The sound of stone dragging across wood. Then, one morning I woke up and found muddy footprints in the kitchen. Small, bare, leading from the back door to the foot of my bed. And last night, I heard it. Knock, 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 from the ceiling. But I live on the top floor. Above me, there's only the attic, and I've never opened it. I don't know what we found in Dudleytown, or what found us. But if you're hearing this, if you're thinking about going, don't. They don't want visitors. They want company. Forever. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, comment and subscribe for more late-night horror stories and true crime. And remember, some towns vanish for a reason. Sleep well, if you can.